up in the right place. And margins and page breaks will drive us insane if we don't set them up right in the first place.
Yeah.
Another example of this, Kim, is as simple as the radios in our cars. One of the first things that we do when we get a new or a different car is to get our radio set up. And it's because we know that this will be a thorn in our side during every ride if we don't go ahead and get it set up from the beginning. Let me be clear. It's not that things can't be fixed, Keita, but it makes it a lot better if it's done right from the beginning. We set up alarm systems, and we set up our television settings, and we spend hours and hours when we get a new phone just making sure that everything is set up the way it should be from the start. Listen, you're going to have some trouble with that weave if it ain't set up right in the beginning. Yeah, you can pull and you can tug all you want to, but if that stitching is done wrong initially, the results are not going to be what they should be. In football, no matter how talented the players are, they're not going to be effective if the plays aren't set up right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And no child is going to master a standardized test if the teacher's curriculum wasn't set up right from the beginning.
Yeah.
If we want things to come out right, we've got to take our time with the initial setup. The TV can do 1,000 things, but we got to set it up. Our garage can be organized and helpful, but we've got to set it up. And even that Barbie doll dream house will be worthless if we never set it up. Everything benefits from proper assembly and proper research and proper attention to detail in its setup.
Yeah.
Email must be set up, and post office boxes must be set up. Bank accounts must be set up, and dates must be set up. We won't get the outcomes that we desire in the time that we want if we fail to give attention to what it first takes to set up. CPAPs must be set up, and dishwashers must be set up, and prescription refills must be set up, and appointments must be set up. So I want to help us today. I want to help you and to help me with another extremely vital setup that's needed in our lives. Our storage must be set up.
Yes.
I want to use the analogy of a physical storage in order to help us think about our spiritual storage. I want to just expound on what Jesus taught the multitude here on this mountainside. The book of Matthew, chapters 5 through verses 7, is what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. And here in the middle of chapter 6, Mr. Warding, we find Jesus is teaching the disciples and the crowd about storage. Yeah, I didn't make it up. It's right here in the book. Jesus said, don't store up treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven. Storage. Yeah, Jesus was teaching about storage. He was teaching us how to manage things, what we should value, and what we should treasure, and what we should protect. He was talking about storage, Miss Hattie, what we keep and what we hustle for and what we prioritize, what we cherish. And here is probably Jesus' most well-known sermon, and he's teaching us how to set up our storage.
Yeah.
I believe that if we look at our spiritual storage and think of it like our physical storage, then we can use it as a practical application for our lives. Is it anybody here this morning that's wondering about the next steps in your life besides me? Is it anybody here that's like me and says, I'm not really sure of which way to go in 2019? Is it anybody here today that wants to grow more in your faith and in your covenant? Yes. Then you have questions just like I do about how to set up the storage. Yeah. Here are some of the questions that I have, and they might be your questions too. Where should I spend all my time? How do I know which goals to pursue? How can I tell what relationships should be nurtured? How do I set up my storage?
Yeah.
What should be the most important things in my life?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how do I keep God at the center of it all?
Yeah.
Which choices are going to be the right ones to make? How do we set up our storage?
Yes.
What direction should I go in? And who should be put on the back burner of my life? And how do I please God and still have an abundant existence? Are there pitfalls that I need to avoid? How do we set up our storage? There are some things to consider. There are some things to flush out. And there's some stuff that we need to know as we set up our storage. And as always, Mr. Sherman, the Bible tells us everything that we need to know, including how to set it up. One of the first things that we need to consider when setting up our storage is who should have access.
Yeah.
As we try to prioritize our lives, one of the most difficult things for us to do is to determine security levels.
Yeah.
We don't always know who should and who should not have access to us. So then we end up, as Jesus described, with moths and vermin destroying and thieves breaking in to steal because we gave the wrong people the wrong access. Too often there are issues, Monica, with what we choose to store. Our peace, our love, our joy, and our hope. The problem is that we gave the wrong people access when we set up our storage. You've worked so hard to get your peace, and you fought so hard to get your love, and you've pressed so hard for your joy. You have finally rediscovered your hope. And then when we finally have it, we finally got some store, but then we turn around and give the wrong people the wrong access. When it comes to spiritual storage in our lives, everybody can't have access. Everybody can't be allowed to just come in and out of our lives. Let me tell you why. Because giving the wrong person the wrong access can destroy my priority.
That's right.
Giving the wrong person the wrong access can taint my treasure. And giving the wrong person the wrong access will kill my covenant. When we set up our spiritual storage, we must be very careful about how we determine who has access. Come on and look at somebody beside you and tell them there's levels to this.
There's levels to this.
Yeah, everybody's security level in my life is not equal. I've worked too hard for what I've managed to store up to let it be stolen and destroyed. I barely made it this far alive, and now God let me come out with just a little bit of something, and I can't let everybody get to it. So it's not that I'm better than you, it's just that some access in my life has got to change. It's not that I'm holier than thou. Some access has just got to be updated. I sent a new list to security, and I hate to tell you, but you ain't on it, and you can't get in. Because I told you I got my peace in here, and I finally got my joy back in here, and I finally got some hope back in here, and I got a little bit of love in here. My covenant with God is in here, and my faith is wound up in here. My dreams are in here. And I refuse to give just anybody free access to come in and steal and destroy.
You better preach! Yeah!
I dare somebody to open up your mouth and holler security.
Security!
Somebody's trying to mess with my sound mind. Somebody's trying to mess up my holiness. Somebody's trying to break in on my time with God. And since I didn't put you on the list, I need security for my story. This is my future. This is my treasure. This is my second chance. You do not have access to my spiritual story. Somebody say not on the list.
Not on the list.
Not on the list.
Not on the list.
Trauma is not on the list. Abuse is not on the list. Pain is not on the list. Loneliness is not on the list. storage. Is there anybody in the house this morning that'll say, finally in 2019, I got a little bit of positive stuff going on, and I refuse to just let anybody come in and steal what God has for me? Is there somebody in here that's finally getting it together a little bit? That'll say, I got a little bit more hope than I used to. I got a little bit more joy than I used to. And I'm trying to put me a little something back so that I'll have something to carry me through the year. And if you think I'm going to let you in when I already know what you're capable of, then you need to check the security level, because just because you are on the list before. Now I need some real people in here. I ain't talking about New Year cut everybody off, but just because you've been on my list does not mean that you stay on my list. Does anybody in the house this morning that knows you got some security access that you need to update in your life? Everybody can't call me all the time. Everybody I can't hang out with all the time. And it's not that I'm better than you are. It's just that I got some stuff in my story that it took me a long time to build up.
Yeah.
If I let you take my self-confidence, if I let you come in my relationship with God, then I'm going to lose everything that I got in my storage. Will you high five somebody and say, God gave me some stuff?
God gave me some stuff.
Let everybody get to it.
Can't let everybody get
God
to
gave me
it.
some stuff, and I can't let everybody take advantage of it. God gave me some stuff, and I'm not willing to put it at risk. And I preach like the old church this morning. This joy that I have,
The world didn't give
and
it.
the world can't take it away. This peace that I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. This confidence I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Somebody say, what you didn't give me,
What you did
I can't let you have access to it. And if you got some more joy, if you got some more peace, if you got some more happiness, then I might let you in.
You preaching.
To steal my story.
Yes.
If you come to wreck my progress, then I need to deny your access. Somebody say security.
Security.
When I set up my storage, I gotta limit the access. Secondly, when we set up our storage, we must insist on temperature control. A storage that does not have temperature control risks having its contents destroyed by changes and variations. If it gets too hot, what's in the storage can be damaged. If it gets too cold, what's in the storage can be damaged. It's important, Kelly, that a consistent and dependable environment is maintained in order to ensure that what's inside is not harmed. Jesus told the multitude, don't store up stuff in earth's environment. Store up stuff in heaven's atmosphere. Jesus knew that the environment here on earth fluctuates. The situation here on earth is always variable. So if we put all of our treasure in storage here, we risk damage because this environment has the potential to harm us. When the economy fluctuates, we can be damaged. When people switch up on us, we can be damaged. And Lord knows when the government shuts down because of a childish president, we can be damaged. We must insist on temperature control because it ensures that what's on the inside of us cannot be harmed. But if I put everything that's dear to me in heaven's atmosphere, if I entrust all of my treasure to the protection of God's economy, if I place everything that I don't want at risk in the hands of God, then I know that the environment will remain constant, and what's put in my storage will not be harmed. I don't know about you in 2019, but I need something steady. I need something that's consistent. I need something that's dependable. I need to operate in an atmosphere without so many unpredictable changes and variations. Can I tell you why I put my all in God's hands? It's because God never changes. He's the same today, yesterday, and forever. God is dependable and consistent. That's why I don't mind Rodney giving my everything over to his protection. Because I know that under God's eye, it will never be damaged beyond repair. He never flips the script on his love for me, and he never leaves me out there alone. He never falters in his plan for me. Come on and tell somebody beside you, God keeps me stable.
God keeps me stable.
Yeah, when the world tries to freeze me to death, God keeps me stable.
Amen.
When the enemy tries to burn me to ashes, God keeps me stable. When life tries to put me on a perpetual roller coaster, God keeps me stable. And I've had enough of an inconsistent temperature control in my life. I'm looking for some storage that I can depend on. Is there anybody in the house like me this morning that says, I'm looking for some stability? Is there anybody in here that says, this year, I just need something that I can depend on? I don't need nothing too hot, and I don't need nothing too cold. I need the stability that can only come through total dependence on God. I want to be stabilized, and I'm doing pretty well. So if you're wondering why you can't get me fired up anymore, it's because I'm finally getting stabilized.
That's right.
If you're wondering why your cold shoulder doesn't hurt me anymore, it's because I'm finally getting stabilized. If you're wondering why you can't get that same response out of me, it's because I'm finally getting stabilized. There's been a lot placed on the thermometer of my life that will not allow you to control my temperature anymore. Come on and point to yourself and look at your neighbor beside you and say, it's starting to feel good in here. Yeah, point to yourself and look at somebody else and say, it's starting to feel good in here. I'm starting to get myself leveled out a little bit. I finally found the optimum setting for my storage, and that setting is set it on put God first. I'm starting to figure some stuff out, and I'm getting closer to my prime feelings. I'm on my way to my greater. It's starting to feel good in here. I know I might look the same on the outside, Latifah. I know it might not seem like much has changed, but deep down in my storage, I'm starting to gain some stability. My joy ain't changing, and my peace ain't changing. My goals ain't changing. Forgive me for my grammar. My faith ain't changing. I don't care how hot it gets, and I don't care how cold it gets. I will remain spiritually unbothered. God's getting me stabilized so that what's going on around me cannot disrupt what's going on in me. Will somebody just throw your head back with an attitude and say, unbothered?
Unbothered.
I still got some of the same struggles, but I'm unbothered. I still have some of the same issues, but I'm unbothered. I know the enemy wants to destroy me, but I'm unbothered. I know it's going to be hard to stay stable, but I'm unbothered. Because I've got too much at risk to keep being unstable. It's heated at my house, but I'm unbothered. It's a cold atmosphere at work, but I'm unbothered. It's up and down when I go to school, but I'm unbothered. I don't mean to sound flipper like I don't care. That's not what it is. It's just that I need my stability. Is it somebody in here that's tired of worrying about every little change that might come? Yeah, is it somebody in here that's sick of fluctuations dictating your environment? Then I need us to let the enemy know that regardless of what the next up and down might be, I stand stable on the word of God, and I stand in here unbothered. Now I need somebody that came in here worried this morning. I need somebody that came in here with your issues this morning. I need somebody that came in here struggling this morning to really make a confession so the enemy can hear it and say, I'm unbothered.
I'm unbothered.
Somebody's still worried about tomorrow. And somebody's still worried about your children. Somebody's still worried about what might happen on your job. But I need some folks to stand up and declare that no matter what comes tomorrow and no matter what goes next week, I've determined in my mind that I'm going to remain unbothered. That don't mean that I won't cry sometimes. That don't mean that I won't worry sometimes. But everything that I have, I placed it in the hand of God. I know that when it's rocky, God stays steady. I know that when it's bumpy, God stays steady. So even if you try to freeze me out, even if you try to cut me off, everything that I have, I put it in the hand of the Lord, and God's temperature control, it never changes, it never fluctuates. Can I get somebody to raise your hand and say, I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.
Wishy-washy
Oh, wishy-washy relationship.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Managers. One day you're hot, the next day you're cold. One day you love me, the next day you hate me. I need something steady. I need something dependable. I need something to keep me. When the rolls of life are rolling, when the tide starts to turn, when my money starts to dip, I need a God that ain't gonna change because I've limited my access. I got my temperature control. And the last thing I did when I set up my storage was I counted up the cost. I knew it was gonna cost me when I gave my life to Jesus. I knew it was gonna cost me when I set up a spiritual storage. But I read a little further, Rodney, down in Matthew, and he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things will be added unto you. Can you high five somebody and say it's gonna be worth it? It's gonna be worth it. I know it costs you something, but it's gonna be worth it. Your storage required a deposit that you had to pay in tears. Your storage required a deposit that you had to pay in pain. But God told me to prophesy and say, in the end, what you put up for me is gonna be worth it. He said, I got something more than what you got in your little storage. He said, I got something more than what you ever expected. So every tear you cried, every day you were lonely, every robin you ate, God said it's gonna be worth it. He said, keep on storing, keep on building, keep on trusting, keep on working, keep on changing, and I got more on my storage. I got more. God told me to tell you that He know you've been storing, He know you've been working, He knows you've been saving. He said, but in the backpack there, you ain't looked all the way. I got something greater if you keep something for me. God said, don't give anybody said we got more in store.
Got more in store.
Keep on holding.
Keep on holding.
Keep on pressing. Keep on working. Keep on storing. Keep on saving. Keep on praying. Keep on fasting. Keep on serving. Keep on building. Keep on interceding. Because after a while, God said, I'm going to upgrade what you need to keep what I got. The storage you got now won't hold it. What you got now won't hold it. What you got now, you're doing real good. But what I got coming, somebody say more.
More.
In store.
In store. More.
In store.
In store.
I need you to believe it. That greater is coming. After your hard work, after the progress you made, somebody say more.
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 In store.
In store.
Be careful how you set up your store. It's the beginning of a new year. Be careful how you set up your storage. Don't give everybody access. Everybody that had access before can't have access. Doesn't mean you don't love them. Doesn't mean you're not kind to them. But sometimes access levels have to change. Be careful about the temperature control in your life. And this really stood out to me because we always allow the enemy to take us up and down, up and down. One day we're happy, the next day we're sad. One day we're hopeful, the next day we down. God said, get some temperature control in your life. If you put everything in my hands, it's stable. It's steady. Why am I worrying about what I gave to God? As if God can't regulate what the enemy does. Think about what I'm saying. We need to become a people that's not happy one day and sour the next. The same God from yesterday
It's the same God today.
Say so, Pastor.
And can I tell you how I live my life? Once I put it in God's hands, I don't let the enemy take me on the roller coaster. Do I cry sometimes? Yeah. Do I worry sometimes? Yeah. But you're not going to catch me with my head down.
Yeah, that's right.
Wondering about what tomorrow's going to be. When I serve the one who holds tomorrow, why am I worried about tomorrow? Get your head up. Don't wait for your next season to show the joy of the Lord. Control your temperature. My temperature is set on God's got it. God first. In the hands of the Lord. That's what my temperature is set on. So it doesn't fluctuate. Let me be real clear. There's a cost to having something stored up with the Lord. Some of us already know that as you got closer to the Lord, it's cost you some stuff. It's cost you some friendships. It's cost us sometimes some things that make us comfortable. Some things that we're used to. That's cost. When you set it up though, count the cost. Because I think we learned on Wednesday that the latter is going to be great.
Amen.
With anything, there's an initial investment in order to get a greater return.
That's right.
And so it is with Christ. There may be struggles. There may be tears. There may be broken hearts. But there's a return on that investment that is eternity. Where my treasure is where my heart will be also. Where's your heart today? Follow your treasure. Don't let the enemy take all the progress you've made. Don't let the enemy make you go back to where you just came from. It might have been a baby step, but it was your step. Store it up. Store it up. You might just be a little bit more joyful than what you were, but you're more joyful. Store it up. That's yours. That's yours. God let you get that peace back. Don't let the enemy take it. Set your storage up right so that he can't get to it. The doors of the church are open. If there's somebody in the house today says, you know what? I need to go in and set up my storage today. I need to get some stuff in order. I need to get in covenant relationship with God. Or I need to get back into covenant relationship with him. Come. Set it up right. Don't try to ease in, back in, get everything together, and then get it set up with the Lord. No, set it up right today. Say, I made a public declaration that this was what I was going to do. That I was changing my life. That I was in covenant relationship with him. Set it up right. If you're here, come. If you're in right standing, are you praying right now for your neighbor? For the person across the way? If you're not right, pray for you. Pray you'll have the courage. But if you are right, pray for somebody else in here. Because we're not all where we should be. And some of us should be coming